All right, so as we start today, we got post-spawn conditions, we got some bream starting to bed, and that's when a frog really comes into play, I feel like, to get you a little bit better bite. We don't have much wind, but those are great frog conditions. You can see here we pulled up on our first stretch, and what you're gonna notice is the sun is at the back of the bushes. And what that's gonna do is give us some little pockets of shade on our side. The water goes back in the bushes too far. The bass really have the best playing field. And so to get them on the front, instead of starting on the other side of the lake where it forces the bass back in the bushes, we're gonna get on the side that has the shade on our side, the outside of the bushes. And you can see here, the bushes all the way to this point are solid, like a wall. When it gets right here, you start getting into some button willows and they're breaking up, and we've got some out off the bank as we go down through here. This is more of a frog type setup here in the Ozarks where you're probably not gonna flip it because you don't have to. Well, now that's a perfect example of a frog garter right there. You can see how he was in that bush in the shade on this side. The frog landed there, popped it a couple times, got him right in the roof of the mouth. It's a solid keeper on this lake. Gonna get you on the boards, but it's just something that you have the opportunity to get over their head and have them to where when they're guarding that fry, when a bait goes in there flipping wise and it just passes the fry, then it's kind of not a predator anymore. When this frog is up there on top and all the fry are on top, it's always a predator. So a lot of misconceptions about frog fishing, you know, being a topwater bait is that it ends like a traditional topwater bait with the sun getting up higher. And you know, that couldn't be further from the truth. You know, a lot of times the frog bite will get better as the day goes on. The wind will kind of position the fish. The fish might be roaming in the morning times and then they have a chance to set up. It's just a great way to enjoy a topwater bite if you're a topwater guy and you have the right conditions. All right, now we come around the corner here and you can see this bank here is a wall of bushes and the sun is just beating on it. What we got on this side, you can see we've got the same bushes, but we got some mixed in willow trees and it's got a little bit of an angle to have the sun, you know, kind of blocked where we've got a shade line in some of the bushes. You can see it out just a few feet, 4, 5, 6 foot off the bank. That's gonna be enough that these fish are gonna feel comfortable to get up there and kind of either rest or feed, or that's where they're gonna try to maneuver their fry to guard them. I got one right underneath it. See, now that fish come out there and showed himself. There we go. He come out there and showed himself. Talk about hook him, it's in the roof of his mouth. What he did is eased up under that frog, and that's where something like a popping frog is better than, like, say, some sort of a kicking frog that's made out of plastic that's gonna sink. Had that frog sunk there, that fish probably wouldn't committed to it. But while it was there, I could walk it sideways, make it look injured. He couldn't stand it. Just a nice one for this lake. All right, now here's a great example of what I've been talking about. This is the prime place to catch one on a frog. You can see here the bank's been straight. Now we got an indention and comes back out to a main lake point. You can see here, any place where one of those drains come together, it gives a place for the perch to get, it gives a place for a bass to get and spawn, guard fry, whatever. But any of those little nooks and drains, they're gonna have trash in it, they're gonna have shore minnows. It's just a place that's gonna have some life. Okay, so we just caught those 2 fish and we're gonna duplicate it using our Garmin electronics. Right here is the 2 bites we just had were in both these little nooks. So as the day goes on, we're gonna start targeting that. We're gonna go over here in a second, we're gonna fish that little nook. We're probably gonna skip this one because it doesn't have anything in it. So as you're starting to run down the lake, using your Garmin shading and your mapping, look and see what to key on that mapping in order to pick a place rather than just pull into a cove. You wanna find something similar. And so we'll run around here a little bit and look. Here's another prime example. We haven't been in this one yet, but as it goes in, it's got a nice nook on one side, a little secondary. Go with what your gut is. You know, 1 bite's a fluke, 2's a pattern, and then roll with it. And that's how you can have a lot more production by picking those areas out using your Garmin electronics rather than just guessing. Stay on there, old boy. Yeah, boy, now he ate it. See, there's probably a Great example of knowing you got a good color frog and everything's good. I mean, choking it down, the old spro popper. Man, it is so far back in there. Whew, now that's in there. You see, I got my frog legs pretty trim. I want them to really key on the body itself. They can see the bait 100%, and that's the difference on waiting or not waiting. When you're in a mat, you're in vegetation, and they're kind of biting at maybe the movement, the silhouette, the sound, trying to get something, you gotta wait. When you're out here in open water and he eats it, he's either got it or he doesn't, and that's when you wanna crack him. And so that's the two differences that I see between waiting and not waiting when throwing a frog. I guess the way to kind of narrow that down, how I'm gonna work this frog, is if I feel like I'm within a few feet of that fish, I'm gonna work it pretty fast just for a minute and give him a chance to get it, and then I'm just gonna get it out of there. It's no different than any kind of other reaction bite. Is you want him to just be sitting there minding his own business and have the opportunity to eat that frog, and that's where the best, most aggressive strikes are gonna come from, and in turn what that's gonna give you is a lot better hookup, because he's not gonna come up there and mouth it, he's gonna try and eat it out of reaction. There's a good one. Man, I tell you what, he was right over that log right there. And I tell you what, he didn't waste one time. That's where I like the popping frog over like a walking frog. You can see in some of these holes and stuff, there's just not a lot of room. You got a 2-foot window to catch him in. And that walking frog, sometimes you just can't make enough commotion. I can slurp or chug this 1 time, 2 times in 6 inches and get their attention, a lot of times get them to commit. So I'm choosing this anytime I'm in bushes. As long as you've got a foot to where you can chug this a time or 2, you could get a bite. So the main player that we did use today and everything was the spro popping frog. It's just really something that mimics a bluegill, perch, fry garter type predators, you know, shore minnows. We had 0 wind, as you can see, high skies, and super clean water. So when you have those conditions, I like to go to an iridescent style frog. This is a gamakatsu hook it comes with. I like to bend them out, get them away from the frog. If I'm around wood, I like to do that. If I'm around vegetation, lily pads, you really can't do that much because you will snag and ruin your cast. You can see I trimmed the tail. And that's something I like to do. We're on a lake that doesn't have a lot of big fish. And so I wanted them to feed on something that was more appropriate to their size. And that shortening that up really gets them to key on the bait rather than looking at the tails moving around. This is the Denali 7.4 frog rod in the Lithium Pro. And I just like a little bit shorter rod for the fact that I'm trying to put it in there backhanded, really tight spots. You can still pitch it in there with it. Has enough backbone to get the fish out as well. It's paired it with a Johnny Moore Signature Series reel from Bass Pro Shops, along with 50-pound Sunline AMZ. Golly, that was a good one there now. I mean, he was right back there. There's a big brim bed under us. I mean, he was right back there in the shade where he belonged. Now that's a nice one on this lake right here. And you can see there, eat it, gone. I mean, right in the roof of the mouth. But right there is a prime example. Man, the gamakatsu hooks that they put in these things, stick them now. I mean, you want to use a stiff rod and stuff like that helps, but when you've got 2 of them, like come on the spro popping frog in the roof of his mouth, chances of getting that fish out of there on a different technique is probably a lot slimmer, but turn around and get him to where you can do it with a frog and you got the ball in your court then. And this is why this makes it such a good spot. You can see we got a lot of cover. This is the drain we were talking about earlier that comes in. It's flat on that side, it's steep on this side. Here's the drain, you can see it. We got a brim bed right here underneath the boat. And the cast I made was as far back as I could go. You know, I put it way back there, about as far as you could put a frog. Because if you half it and he has to come that much further, the ball's in his court. And all I did was just give it a couple of splooshes. You know, I wanted to get his attention. I'm not worried about that frog landing on the water really quiet. You know, I want it to land in there. I want it making some commotion and I want him looking for it. Plus it's fun. That was exciting. Let's get another one.